Hey guys, this is Lucas from Better Coding Academy. I'm joining Patrick here today and we are doing a full review of Flow. Specifically, we are looking at all of the problems that have come up with Flow that we've realized and that the community has realized over the duration that we and the community have used said project. So, Flow, if you don't know, is a type checker. That's pretty much all the introduction we're going to give here, but let's just jump straight into the errors that we've got over here. So this one, we've got let object be object, and this one here, I accidentally changed this one, but it was meant to be A1 like so. So Patrick, do you want to kind of run through this and maybe explain what's going on?
Well, no, I don't. So I know the second error. So the second error is like basically you told them the object is an object with A as in like a property, right, a field, and you're trying to assign B to it. But the problem is you never told it that there might be a B. So like you're kind of changing the type, not the type, but like kind of the type, like the interface kind of thing of the object, so then it kind of complains. So one way to fix it, can I type on this thing? I can't. But one way to fix it is you can just like
try typing now.
Yeah. Oh, I can't paste, man. What is it? B. So string, right? Yeah.
And you get no errors. Okay.
Yeah, because you're saying it might have a B. Like you've done 60,000 lines of flow, right, or something. I've done some lines of flow, but I seriously still have no idea how some of the stuff works.
Yeah. So with this one, so this one here is a non-exact, but then if you do that, it gives you an error because A can't be put inside. So if you put the pipes inside, it says you can't have A. Yeah. However, what I don't understand is technically object should allow any properties inside, right? So then why does it give this error? Well, because you're reassigning here.
Yeah, it is that line. Like it's number 5. Like number 5, you're like telling it something.
Yeah. So if you get rid of this line here, it still doesn't work though. Oh, that's a different error because then if you do that it works. But then so this line here somehow breaks it. But here's the other thing I saw, right? Is that like I was messing around. So you've got let obj object like so, and if we just comment out these two and you do something like this, you let obj be object and then you set obj to a number. So you set it to 3 and then it doesn't give you an error.
That is weird. I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess numbers are objects or something, but what happens if you put like a string? Oh, it doesn't error as well.
But then what if you do a number here?
Sorry, yeah.
Number here. Okay,
yeah,
so you
that
can't
would
do
definitely error. Yeah. I guess everything's an object, right, in JS. We're
that's probably why.
Of each other, but, yeah.
But that just seems like a really weird choice. Because you'd expect to use it.
Yeah, it's just weird. Oh, what if you do this, right? And then you assign the property. Oh, can I not control?
You can't do command / it doesn't work.
Oh.
Doesn't work. I'll do it.
Yeah, you do it.
Okay.
Oh, it doesn't error. So that doesn't error for some reason.
Okay, so now maybe let's make a point here, right? Is like the whole point of having flow and like adding extra code into your existing code is to make type checking a bit easier and to make it a little easier to understand. But then when you've got something like this where obj is an object and then when obj is an object and then you turn it into a function and then you try to assign .b to it, it just seems a little bit counterintuitive. And it seems like Flow should at least pick up on this and like either give you a warning and say this is not okay, or are you sure you're meant to be doing it this way? Whereas when you have something like object like that, it just seems like object in this case is like no different to any, almost.
Yeah, I think this object to function thing is a bit bad. Honestly, I guess everything's an object, but the whole point of having types is so you don't have that, right? But I think this is the problem. Like I think this is like you're telling it it's an object with a certain signature, and Flow tries to pick up on that. Yeah.
So I think what's happening here is like the object is like the broad, and then when you turn it down into A1, it like kind of turns it into like a little scope. But then what if you do something like this, right? Because that's specifically an object. And then
that is specifically an object, yes.
Okay, so now that gives you an error. But then why did this work?
Because a function is an object. But
yeah, but then you can make the argument like, okay,
I honestly don't know. Yeah, I don't know why if you tell it is an object and you put 3 on it and it works. A string's not.
What about like new number 3? Okay.
What?
I guess. I don't know.
Certain things I just think is really freaking stupid, and I think this is like some of the cases where I know how to get around it, but like why, why am I forced to code in a certain way that is
And
not
it's just like
necessarily
and
bad.
you're adding extra code. Like instead of doing
Yeah,
this, you could just make it
yeah.
better.
So like arguably this is like bad, right? You shouldn't do this. But if we kind of go back, oh god, there's no control Z as well. So if we kind of go back to this one, right? And then what do we do? Like the object.b equals to 3 or something, right? Any errors. So this is actually quite important because like when you do say like React, actually I think I sent you a link on the second document, so maybe we can flip through that and no. There's a second. Yep, this one. So like this is the same problem, right? Like you cannot assign age onto the object, but like sometimes you don't want a prop when you start doing React. Like it's not that the prop is undefined; it's you actually don't want the prop at all. Because that's sometimes how you define it, right? Like
Wait, but
say
this
that
one's
your
because
props
you haven't actually included props in any way.
Oh, yeah, I've just put it in comments because this is Flow. There's no JSX.
No, like, isn't it meant to be on one props there?
Sorry. Yeah, you can do that. Wow, why is it what? Oh no, but that's because this is defined, right? Age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fine, right? But like that's not always the case, right? Cause sometimes you have like actual props here, and then you spread, and then you have like other stuff here. So then you have to start building stuff out like completely, right? Like you can't do any lazy coding. Yeah.
So then what ends up happening here is you have, say for example, like this would be, say, your component's props. And then, this code is in your component. And then you also have this code here, which is like, I don't know, in parent component or something. And you have one, which is defined with name and age. And say, for example, you have name, age, and also, let's just say date of birth is also a string, for example. And then what you'd have to do is you'd have to also specifically define here something like if we're following the same syntax, right? We do this, and then we'd have to do name is string, age is number, like so. So then we'd have this up here, and we'd also have this down here, and then we'd do something like, say we're rendering it, render, and then date of birth equals, say, something, and then dot one after.
Yeah. Like you get into situations where exactly like stuff like that happens. Like obviously you won't actually do this because it's just so tedious. Like you'll find another way to do it. Because like you can technically you would probably rather just do this, right? Just cut off all the chaff, and then here at the bottom you probably build like bad naming final props, and then you type this one like so.
Yeah. I just don't see at this point what the point of it is.
Yeah, exactly. This is the complaint, right? Like you can eventually get to it, and it's not terribly bad. But then at the same time, it's like how much hurdle do you have to get through to do something that you know is right? Like it's so trivially right, but you have to like take the long way, really.
And what I don't understand is like you're adding like so much, right? But like say for example this bit of code here, you've added in like 5 extra lines here, maybe like 2 extra lines here, whatever it might be. You're adding a whole bunch of code in, but what is the problem you're trying to solve? Well, the reality here is the problem you're trying to solve is the issue that came up with Flow. You're not solving a code issue, you're solving a Flow issue, which you introduced by using Flow.
Yep, exactly. So I guess people's argument is, look, like I overall like typing, but I think just there's no really good implementation of it in JS. I think TS is better than Flow. But that's exactly what you're saying, right? And I exactly agree. Is that you code in a certain way that you know is fine, but the type checker, the static analyzer, doesn't quite understand it because it's just not smart enough. Yeah. So then you have to be forced to put all these like kind of hints for the static checker to pick up on, or you code it in a completely different way. So arguably, sometimes, right? Sometimes your code is bad. Like you're doing something that is technically always going to be right because you know how it works, but actually the coding style is bad. So we'll probably get to more of it later with some of the other stuff we have prepared. But I think the trade-off isn't there. Like I think that you spend a lot more time fixing problems that are not real problems than actually fixing problems that are problems because the type checker picked it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So if I guess if your code is like extremely mission critical, you know, sure, like if you're trying to launch a rocket or something, yeah, sure.
But if you're trying to launch a rocket, you wouldn't write it in JavaScript either. So
You won't exactly. That's the thing. And when it's front end, it's like it's like certain things are not that critical, man. Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
so
yeah.
next example here would be. Do we go back here? So this one.
Yeah.
Take
What's
it from
this?
Okay, so cannot return filter length question mark filtered.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like so let's say you have like an array where you have a mixture of fruits and drinks. Just two object types, right? And you can write a function like this normally that just filters out all the fruits. Oh, sorry, filter out all the drinks, right?
Yeah.
And then you return the first thing that's left. So I'm pretty sure TS can't do this too, but Flow will not understand this. Like it won't understand that filtering out fruits or filtering out everything that isn't a fruit will return you a fruit if you pick it from the array. Because the array is still typed as maybe fruit or drink.
I see that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
So this I actually think is bad code. Like I think you shouldn't ever do something like this. But the thing is, like, this is also ridiculously convenient, and there's technically nothing wrong with it. Like this can never go wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so here's where it's like it starts to change the way you code.
But then if you were to write something
Yeah.
like this and to get around this error, how would you do that? Because you said like this is kind of bad code. Like what would you say?
Yeah. So probably the quickest way I can think of is like you can just make this. Well, I'm not gonna even bother typing fully because there's no Control Z and it freaking messes up. But you make this thing return like drink or fruit.
Right. Yeah, I'll fix that up.
Yep. Yeah, and then it's probably like question mark bracket or something. I don't know how it works anyway. Yeah. But then you do a type check, like in the function you're calling it, right? You do a type of the result, equals to fruit or something like that. Just do some type check here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like includes or something. Yeah. Because this thing will tell Flow what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this
like,
is
I don't
weird.
know.
It's like
It's weird.
this one.
Yeah.
It's just like okay. So one other argument that people make for types is that the code is self-documenting. This is not self-documenting, right? It's obviously returning a fruit. Like you look at it for 2 seconds, it's like, oh, this is a fruit including thing. Okay, then why do we have drink in here? Then it's not self-documenting. It's actually wrong, and you're doing this in order to fix a problem with Flow. And the more strict you make your type checker, the more you have to do this. You can't just like live with an error if it actually doesn't let you compile. So then you have to do it this way. But this way is technically wrong.
Exactly. This is the problem, right? Like, it's a false negative. Like false negative. Yeah. Like this program is technically sound, but it doesn't quite pick it up. Yeah, so it rejects it.
So it's a false negative because this part's technically wrong. So it says no error here, but it's technically wrong. So it should be an error. Because it should be like that. But then this becomes a false positive because, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's not technically wrong because, like, I guess it does return a drink or a fruit. It's just that it will never return a drink. So it's like wrong but not wrong. Yeah. This is ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. So the solution is just to never code like this. And avoid. Generally, I think you would try and avoid mixing, like have arrays like this. Yeah. But sometimes it's inevitable, right? Like, or sometimes the code is just there. Like you have an array like this.
And one thing I found is like, okay, so let's just say we have, like when you have strings, I'm not really a big fan of this. Like when I was doing Flow, because this gives me so many errors. Usually I'm just like, screw it. I'm just gonna do string. So an array of strings, return string. That's how I'd do it, just to get around things like this. But then it's technically not as semantic, once again, as you said, right?
I think that, well, at that point, it's kind of useless, right? Because they're all strings.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can no longer differentiate a fruit from a drink. I think, yeah. So there's not even a point putting in enums, I guess, is what you're calling it. Yeah.
Enumerated, or alternatively, you could do like imagine if these fruits were objects and drinks were objects here, and somehow they were like returned. Then this would still be the same problem. Like it's not just because it's a string. It could also be the case, with that as well.
It could be anything, classes, whatever, instances of classes, Yeah.
Cool.
So
All right.
it's
Next
kinda
example would be this one here.
What is
What's this?
What is? Oh, right. Okay. So this is so I think like in like Lodash and Ramda and stuff, you kind of have these like generic types typed, because Ramda and Lodash is generic, right? Like you pass in something, you return something.
Yeah.
The problem is it never freaking works. So I'm pretty sure I copy and pasted this from somewhere, which is I think is just the Lodash built-in type
Okay. Yeah.
declarations. Yeah, and the thing is like it just gets confused. It doesn't know what the hell is going on. So what is this? Cannot call pick with an array literal bound to keys because deep is missing in props.
Props in.
Oh, because there's no prop in here.
But it's not an exact object, so it doesn't matter, right? Because this object is not a strict, you shouldn't have to do this. Like you shouldn't have to specify deep is something. Like you should be able to do that.
Strict. Yeah, it's not a strict thing, right? Yeah. So like the point I was trying to highlight here is like it's not necessary, because like I'm sure you can get these declarations right and it'll kind of work. But the problem is like when you use these libraries, sometimes the things supplied just doesn't freaking work.
That's so true.
So
That's
so
true.
so then you have to spend even more time to write type defs for a library that you didn't even write.
This one here, flow typed. Oh boy, this was a
Yeah,
nightmare. So I was
yeah.
using flow typed for I was using Sequelize, so in node.js as well. Had like 40k lines of flowish code. And inside of here I was looking at definitions, I think it was browser. Might have been. No, it'll be npm. Okay, so it was here under SQL. Okay. Search real quick. Sequelize, yep, this one here. Okay, so in this one here, I think I was using this one at the time because it was a little while ago. This one's broken. It doesn't work properly. It like there are many methods inside of here that just don't actually match the syntax of the actual Sequelize library.
Right.
And there are things, and then like when you get to that point, you're like, okay, what do I do? Do I release a pull request and go through all these lines myself? And then I'm like, okay, it might take a bit too long. I'm just gonna grab it, copy it, try to change it. And then when you change it, you start to realize that there's more than 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 lines of code.
Yeah, it's and it starts to ripple. It starts to ripple through exactly because it all kind of changes, right?
Yeah.
So it's like at that point, it's so ridiculous, right? You spend so much time fixing up someone else's library, and you need it now, and you know it works.
Like your code works. You're
like,
fixing up an error that you're fixing the squiggly line.
And you know the library works. It's just that the type defs don't work, and you didn't even write it, and you can't really do a PR because by the time you never know if it's going to get merged, and by the time it gets merged, it's like. You have to basically learn their code to PR their code, right?
Absolutely.
Are you gonna do that?
And then, like, when you fix one problem, sometimes you introduce other ones, and that's just flow. You can't help it. So
exactly. So then, So what you can end up doing is basically do all these hacks, like typecasting and stuff, kind of hacks, to just get stuff working, and then or any and stuff. But then, what's the point of types if you're just gonna do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You know what? We need those. We need those Python devs from the internet who are, data scientists and AI gods, to come and design a new AI-based type checking system for us.
Right. And in the end, it just says, "Oh, we don't need types." The AI is just like, "We don't need types."
The all-powerful artificial general intelligence has decided that we do not need types. And that decision is final.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now for the last
I think
example,
TS is a lot. By the way, I think TS is a lot better just because it's so much more popular.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you run into this problem less. Yeah, but Flow is like an afterthought.
It's a funny thing because Flow was more popular when I used it, and TypeScript was
really?
like, and then all of a sudden TypeScript like just blew up.
I think the argument was like Flow is the better type checking system because I think TS does some trickery, like it's just kind of does whatever in the background. But Flow, I think, tries to be correct. But the problem is it's unusable. Yeah, like it's unusable, so people just go straight to TS. They're like, screw this.
Yeah. And like TypeScript probably, like they have tons more articles like saying you should use TypeScript. So everyone's like, oh, TypeScript, amazing, wow, revolutionary. Anyways, so what's going on here? Maybe you want to explain a little bit.
I don't know, man. There's no errors. Oh, wait, there's no errors, but I think this is kind of tied to the first one. Like, this is expecting a number, right? But I put in a string. Like James.key. If the key is name, right? I console log this. Else if it's age, slogan, height. So slogan this one is definitely a string, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not erroring.
So it's just
When
not
I
that
put
smart.
it in. How can it be not that smart? Isn't that the point? Yeah.
Okay. So what if
Like,
what if you just did straight away like double? Sorry, if I do double James.slogan. Okay. So that gives you an error. Yeah.
The problem is it doesn't understand this, right? Like this combination of object, like looping through keys and stuff.
Yeah.
Like trying to iterate through the keys. So this actually, to be honest, I don't know why you would ever want to do this kind of thing. But yeah, I've seen it, and I had to work on top of code with it, and it just gave me trouble. So this one is like a false positive, right? Like it should be a negative, but it gives you a positive. Whereas the issue I had was a false negative. So I was complaining about something. It was basically doing the reverse. It was complaining about, say, like age just can't go into double, but it's a number.
Yeah. So basically, like this one here. This one's the false negative. and
Yeah,
this one
pretty
is
much.
false positive.
Exactly. So I had to do like an extra line here where I just do like basically the type assertion, right? Like type of James key is like triple equal to number or something. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, like
and-
I
and-
can check it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just do the even though I know that it's fine because of here, and here, right? Like 3
Yeah.
lines of code, 100% you know it's fine, but you still have to basically talk to the static type checker at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think for once you do the first one, I guess you know what to do the second time. But imagine if you're like coding remotely, and there's not that many people to ask, or you're coding by yourself. There's not that many people to ask, right? You could be spending like an hour on this, Stack Overflowing. You'd be like, what the hell is wrong with this? Yeah, and it's just a waste of time.
And also, Stack Overflow is surprisingly unhelpful when it comes to Flow. Like, I think just the internet in general, when I was using Flow anyways, just was completely unhelpful because you type in Flow and then so many different things come up. Like, hardly any of the results are related to JavaScript. So you have to type Flow.js and then, sometimes you just don't get it. You have to go through the GitHub, and the GitHub, goodness gracious, you have to look at how many issues are open on the GitHub.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
so many issues. And then you have to go through all of that to try and find your problem. And many times with my one, I couldn't find what I wanted at all. Like on the internet, it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So
because it's just like it just
This is how it
doesn't.
is.
It's just unusable. It's
Yeah.
how it is. Yeah.
So I think it's
I
how
mean, it's technically usable, but in hindsight, you would say you would probably not do it again.
oh, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Because I've been through Flow. I was like, I need to have some type checking because I need to check this out. I used it. I wrote legitimately 60,000 of server-side code. And like 100,000 ish. It's a lot of code, right? And like
It's a lot
I've done
of
it with React, I've done it with SQLite, I've done it with all of that
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like, nah, not doing that again.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's just
Have
you
you
don't
tried
want to.
TypeScript though?
I've tried
Because
TypeScript
I think
as well.
TypeScript is
on the first
much better, like so far. But the thing is, like my main work is not with TypeScript, so I don't have the same amount of experience with it.
I think maybe it's a bit of PTSD for me because when I started my latest project, I was just like, I don't really want to. So I tried first getting
Yeah.
TypeScript started, and then the amount of hassle it got to get everything installed and working, and like I was just like, nah, this looks too much like Flow. I don't want to do it. Well, let's just wrap up on Flow here. So I guess my main comment is like it's not very smart. The object type is poorly defined. I don't like that very much. With this example here.
Yeah.
The other one would be, so that's this first example here. I don't know why, and I'm not sure why.
I honestly, yeah.
Like,
I
why
kind
can
of
you do this and like make it a function? Was it a function like this?
yeah. Like I kind of get bits and pieces of it, but like something like that, I have no idea why.
Yeah. This makes no sense
it's
to me
like
at all.
it makes no sense to me
Yeah.
at all as well. Yeah, it's
Uh,
just stupid. Yeah.
Maybe you Flow guys in the comment section can explain it to
Yeah.
us.
Someone please educate us, man.
Please.
Yeah.
Does this work? Okay, yeah, okay. This one as
Yeah.
well. So just once again, not that smart. I feel like its static analysis isn't that strong, and it
Yep.
just lets some very. I mean, you could say this is bad
Yeah.
design, but it just lets this kind of stuff through, which is
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. Like, is it bad design though? Like how do you not do this? What's the
Yeah.
point of field type?
I think there are situations in which you have to do something like this, right? Like if you're given Max, say for example, like say you have some sort of streaming service and you have different types of data coming in, then you have to be able to filter that data, and then you have different types. So
you just
definitely
have to-
something like this.
Like you definitely you'll do something like this at least once. You just have to have a lot of code around it to kind of
Yeah.
tell Flow what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also some other things as well that we haven't really touched on, but whatever. Like, because you know how Flow compiles like a .flow file
It does.
in dist? Yeah, I think
really?
it does, man. I think it does,
I
man.
forgot
I don't
about
know.
that. Yeah. I think
Like,
so.
yeah, there's like a .flow file, yeah. But the problem is like sometimes I'll just type it here. So sometimes
My mistake.
yeah, that's okay. So sometimes instead of like I can't. Can you put on my typing
Yeah,
thing?
sure.
Thanks. Yeah, so sometimes like this is not really a enum, right? That's like a fake enum. But you can. Sometimes you'll kind of want to do this. Oh, I can't control. Something like this, right? So like screw the naming convention because I don't want to error. I call it fruit2, and then you can just like type it as like some forgot the exact syntax, but it's like value dollar values, right? And then you put the object in, kind of like this. Fruits2 fruits. So imagine that's not there, it won't error. So you actually like get an enum. So this is equivalent to kind of this.
Right.
Yeah, but the benefit of this is instead of using strings, now you can actually import.
Like through to.apple, right?
Yeah, you can actually do this, right? Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You can
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
do this. Yeah. So the problem is like because it compiles this. You want to keep these two together in the same file. So the problem is it compiles a .flow file. So you have to kind of like start adding stuff in your Webpack. Otherwise, it can't babble this if it's in ESX. Like say if this file has imports, it won't be able to babble this. So then you have to start adding stuff to Webpack to tell it how to read .flow type files, .flow type files that is in ESX because it is in ESX. Like it doesn't transpile for you.
Right. Okay.
And then like it just kind of ripples through.
I
Like
think
there's just so much
this general note is like it just takes so much effort just to set up and get working properly, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. My experiences with Flow so far is like it does pick up some errors or some things that are technically bad, but then arguably most of the time those things are not actually that bad. And then when the ones that are actually bad, you would kind of think some in the QA process it's bad enough to go picked up anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I just don't think I think
Yeah.
I'm just unconvinced. Like the argument is like Flow can, because Flow increases the size of your code, it needs to bring some benefits. So the argument is that it brings like clarity, it brings self-documenting code, it reduces the number of errors that show up.
Yeah.
And
So-
my argument is that I'm unconvinced that it does that to a good enough degree to warrant including 20-30% extra code and extra development time.
So I actually probably agree with that. I think like I think the investment it takes is probably less than it outweighs the benefits it brings, I think. But if we dissect it a little bit, so less errors, is that true? Does Flow bring less errors? I guess. Like it's just given time, not in consideration.
It
I think
doesn't bring up
does.
any of the big errors. Like it gets rid of stuff like, I accidentally mistyped a variable name. Great.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do like, okay, I've set up a race condition between my two database promises. It never can fix that. It never can realize
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's the important
typing,
stuff, right?
Typing can't fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Typing can't. But I think it. I would say it does bring less errors. So let's just give it a win.
Okay.
Legibility and self-documenting kind of stuff, and definitely not, man.
Yeah. Like this.
Have you seen?
If you have to do this, not good.
so bad.
And then
Have
if you have
seen,
to do 4,000,
Oh, God.
where's that file? I closed it, right?
Oh, the 7,000 line.
Yeah, the 7,000 line. Where are you? Oh my gosh, dude! Why does it do this to the URL bar?
Why does it? Oh, because it keeps changing.
It changes the.
It hashes your code.
But
into
it should
the
do
URL.
history dot replace. It shouldn't do push. Anyways,
Yes, that's true.
any file that needs to be 7,000 lines and part of your actual repository is not fun to deal with at all.
No. 7,000. I don't think any file should be 7,000 lines.
Even in Linux, like when they're working with C, like the longest file I think I've seen, and I haven't seen the whole thing, but like the longest file I've seen of non-compiled code is like 2,000 lines. And like that's crazy. Yeah.
I complain like if it's beyond 1,000, I basically like I just don't want to read it, man.
Like
It just
that,
be
yeah.
like, what the hell? Yeah, but I guess this is all declarations, right? So it's like, but even then, you can split it up into things that make sense. Like surely they don't. The API is not coded in like a single file, so can't they just split it up? Like,
I'm actually not sure
so
how you can
stupid,
split
yeah.
up this file. Like because what it does is they have. Now I might be wrong. Like I might completely be wrong here, but when they declare a module and then declare like, for example, where is it? What does it say? Sequelize.
But you can import, right?
Where are you?
Oh god.
Where
I mean,
is?
there's a lot. I guess there's a lot of
Where's the
comments.
model? Where's the model? Model's here somewhere. So like for example, okay, so just one example. So for example, when you have something like, okay, so these are just shorter errors, but like when you have like sequelize model as like declare export class sequelize model, how do you split that into two files? What if that one declaration takes up like say 2,000 lines? How can you split that into like 2-3 separate files?
Well, if you do if it's single declare, you can't.
That's what I'm saying.
But
Right?
can
Like,
you? But can you import stuff? Like, so, say it says declare export class timeout. Can you import like type timeout error?
yeah, you can. But what I'm
So
saying is I don't think you can change it after you import it.
yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you have to define it all in one place. And once you do that, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty bad. Yeah, you're probably right. It's pretty bad.
And the other thing, actually, I just remembered I got a lot of was GraphQL errors with Flow.
Oh, okay.
Because you have to set up
It's-
so like there's this way to like set up static analysis with GraphQL.
Hmm.
It analyzes it and it sets it up, but it's always wrong. Like it's always wrong.
It's always on. Yeah.
It expects like the weirdest. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that can be.
Maybe you're just coding wrong.
Yeah, maybe I'm just bad.
Maybe you're just coding wrong. Yeah, that's basically what
Yeah.
Flow is telling you. You're doing it wrong.
Cool. Okay, well, this concludes our roast of the Flow type system. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Hope you guys have learned something from this. I certainly have. And just a disclaimer once again is that I haven't used Flow in quite a while, which is why obviously I'm quite rusty. And Patrick doesn't work too often with Flow, but it's still,
Yeah, well, I'm new. I'm pretty new to Flow.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah.
but we're still definitely experienced JavaScript developers, and this is our opinion. You know, we'd love to have a discussion on this and hear your thoughts on why typing is, in your opinion, more important, if you do believe that is the case. So that wraps up this video. This has been Lucas and Patrick with Better Coding Academy, and see you guys later.
See you. Bye.